Mobil won the grid gets under starters orders in Florida, where Toyota's GR010 hypercar made its Sebring debut. Toyota began their defense of the World Endurance Championship with the 1,000-mile season opener on the historic bumps of Sebring.
We're all pumped up at Toyota for the first round of the WEC. I think Sebring's a great place to start the championship. So much character. We all talk about the bumps. It's always a shock for the first few laps when you're trying to manhandle the car around here, but then you start to embrace it.
The expectation is that it's going to be very difficult for us because of the BOP. In the past, we didn't have what we call the balance of performance, so to level everyone. So this is a different kind of strategy now, and it gave us a big hit for this race. So it's up to us now to try to drive around it and still have an opportunity to win at the end of the weekend.
With the BOP handicap weighed against them, the GR010s were frustrated in qualifying, earning 4th and 7th place starting positions for the Friday race.
I think it was a bit damage limitation. It's a long race ahead, and yeah, we will focus on do a clean race, no mistakes, and I think if we can manage to do that, maybe we will fight for the podium.
The unfamiliar grid positions were a big test for Toyota's drivers, as for the first time they faced serious competition from Glickenhaus and pole starters Alpine.
As the fastest car in the field, we are having a big hit for performance. So we find us now in the middle of the field, behind our competitors. Nevertheless, we are the fastest in the pit stops. The drivers are very consistent, so we shouldn't make any mistakes, and we maybe could sneak out for victory.
The World Endurance Championship, the 1,000 miles of Sebring is go.
Setting out to remain unbeaten in the WEC's newest category, the team would be relying heavily on their efficient, hard-working crew and experienced strategists.
Once we're running, the engineers are feeding all the data that we get from the car. They're looking at everything to make sure everything's running as it should be, and if they can see any areas we can improve, anything we can change driving-wise, they're going to let us know as well. The engineers don't have a lot of time to themselves. They don't get time to eat sometimes, and neither do these guys here on, all the mechanics working here. So they're pretty beat up by the time that finish flag is dropped.
Like the hypercars themselves, new star Ryo Hirakawa was making his first appearance at the birthplace of American endurance racing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I knew that this track is really special. Of course, I try to win, and at the same time, this track is not easy, so I focus on my training. And this is my very first time to race with this car, so it's going to be really interesting.
The 4th hour of the race, though, brought a frightening moment.
Lopez in the number 7 Toyota is into the tyres at high speed, and he's gone over. Jose Maria Lopez out of the Toyota. The GR010 is a wreck.
The first thing most important is that Jose is okay. It's one of those things when lapping a GT car, they had just touched. And then as a consequence of this, a few corners later, at high speed, the nose started to collapse. And then meant he couldn't steer anymore, and that sent him straight trajectory into the wall, and then he rolled.
With the 7 car out of action, Hirakawa, Hartley and Buemi in the number 8 fought bravely to close on the leading Alpine, finally settling for a podium finish when the threat of lightning ended the race prematurely.
The race is over. The red flag will not be withdrawn. Alpine have beaten Toyota.
I've never seen a race being stopped before the rain actually arrived, but I think there was some kind of rules with the thunderstorm coming around.
P2 is obviously, I think, the best we could achieve today. We've taken those points, and now we will move on to Spa, but yeah, somehow we knew before coming that it was going to be a tough one.
We'll be back at Sebring with Corvette shortly, but now we head to the SHR race shop for the lowdown on the NextGen NASCAR.
In an historic moment for NASCAR, the next generation, or Gen 7 Cup car, made its competition debut in the showpiece season opener, the Daytona 500.
I think the biggest thing that the fans will probably notice is the relevance to how the car looks compared to a showroom car. Especially for us, our Mustangs look very relevant to the cars on the showroom floors. And I think that was the highest priority, to make the cars squared up and relevant to a street car.
With a base configuration of 670 horsepower, a 4-inch rear spoiler and more efficient aerodynamics, the next-gen car, though, is a genuine racer.
The whole entire the underbody of the car is planed off. There's a diffuser now that we have in the back that generates most of the downforce on the car. And then the spoiler is the same, and some of the properties are the same. We have a splitter that's bolted into the underwing. So the underbody aero is probably the biggest aero difference.
You never know who's going to hit it good right out of the gate. You know, which team's going to have the car figured out. The little things that make a difference. But at the same time, I think the package that NASCAR has chosen with higher horsepower and lower downforce, I think it's going to put it in the driver's hands a lot more.
With road courses featuring prominently on the calendar, the new car required a more balanced geometry.
Our cars used to in the past be offset, and they were more designed to go just left-hand only. Now these cars are more symmetrical. The body on it is symmetrical, the suspension is symmetrical. Because of that, it is more specifically designed to go left and right, which suits it very well for road racing and maybe not as well for oval track racing.
Victory in Phoenix showed Chase Briscoe is well up to speed with the car's new feel.
The steering's definitely different. You know, in the garage, you're turning the thing 2-3 turns all the way around, but then you get on the racetrack, and once you're up to speed, it's the tiniest movements. It's so quick and so sensitive.
The 2022 Cup car has meant a reset for both drivers and engineers, adjusting to the 5-speed sequential gear shift and transaxle independent rear suspension.
We've always had a differential rear axle housing and a differential all combined in one. Well, transaxle has the transmission and the rear end combined together, and it's in the back of the car. And with the gear shift, we've always had the 4-speed H pattern, and now we're a 5-speed sequential shifter. So especially in the road racing, even some short tracks, you may see people actually shifting during the races now.
Whether it's ovals or road courses, the bigger wheels allow for larger, more powerful brakes, and we've already seen some aggressive racing.
The brakes on it are unbelievable. How we shift now, you can drive this car way harder than what we used to drive. But that window of being on the edge in the old car was this big. Well, now it's this big. But it's so much easier to get to that edge, but then once you go over it, there's no saving it. You're backed in the fence before you even know what happens.
It has a plastic body on it now, so we're able to beat and bang a lot more and not have problems. Where in the past, you know, with a metal body, if you got into the wall just that little bit, pushing it, and it got into the tire, you have a blown tire and you have to go to the pit.
Even pit stops have seen changes. On pit road, the new Goodyear tyres, the single lug nut wheel attachment, and updated refueling system have required the whole team to adapt.
This is a huge challenge to learn how to adapt to this new style race car with the NextGen cars. I'm excited to have the last year of my career be in this NextGen car because this car is going to be around for a while. So whatever I do next, whether it's involved still in the industry or not, at least I will be relevant and understand the dynamics of this car and what it races like.
Time now to learn about NASCAR's drive for diversity.
NASCAR is the biggest motorsport in the USA, and while the next-gen cars are making the technology more relevant, NASCAR is also making sure that the sport is open for all.
My love for racing started like I was probably 5 or 6 from the Lightning McQueen movie, and it just grew over time. I got a diecast at the store, watched racing on TV, Speed Racer, really everything racing. It just grew over time, it snowballed, and I became really obsessed with it, and I started racing in 2018 virtually after playing video games before that. Raced on the iRacing simulator, and now I'm in my 4th year of racing in the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program, and getting noticed on the iRacing platform is how I'm here today.
Rajah Caruth is racing in the ARCA Menard Series as well as some Xfinity races this season. In ARCA, he's running with Rev Racing, set up by Max Siegel, who previously worked with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and NASCAR before taking on their Drive for Diversity program.
Being a part of Max Siegel's race team in the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program has been a blessing. They noticed me and took a chance on the iRacing kid, and they've helped develop me up to this point, and I'm really thankful for Max, for NASCAR, and really everybody that's been a part of this so far and giving me this opportunity and believing with me and helping me improve and grow as a driver and as a young man.
Rajah is a very cool and unique case, and his hard work is really what's gotten him to where he is now. But for me, as a 14-year-old, I actually applied to the Drive for Diversity program. It was a different structure. We didn't have our partners with Rev Racing at the time to have the academy-style format that we have today. So to be able to reach someone like Rajah, loves the sport, really wants to succeed in it, and then have that pathway where even though he didn't have traditional access to a racetrack, we can give him the platform to show the talent. We'll let that talent from there advance him from legend cars to late models to racing now at the ARCA level. That's really important to me, and to see that through and see him make it to the National Series level from here. I know he has some Xfinity starts planned for this year. That's a huge accomplishment, and that's what the program is all about.
Caruth is just one of dozens of racers, as well as pit crew members, given an opportunity by Rev Racing. College athletes have been trained up to go over the wall, and some are now working at Cup level. While on the driving side, former alumni include reigning Cup Series champion Carl Larson, who has a Japanese-American background, Mexican ace Daniel Suarez, and African-American Bubba Wallace.
I really look up to Bubba, to Kyle Larson, Daniel Suarez, and even guys that weren't in this program. Kurt Busch, Corey LaJoie, people that have made it to that top level. When everybody has gotten there through different ways, and I really just try to build my network of mentors, so to speak, and to just really develop as a driver.
I hope it just sets the example that the sport is open to anyone who has a passion for it, and if you work hard at it and stay true to the course, then you can achieve your goals. So that's the biggest part for me, and I hope that the diversity program as a whole, with drivers like Rajah, set that example.
While Hamilton kicked off his 2022 as race director at the Daytona 500, the first African-American in that role, Caruth will be hoping to make his own mark this season.
You've got kids like me, and we race here to hopefully be racing on Sundays eventually, and so it's a stepping stone, and for the time being it's awesome to see them believe in the youth, and just puts more pressure on me to go out and perform.
We head back to Sebring now to join GT King's Corvette Racing taking on the double.
It's all changed for Corvette Racing in 2022 as the reigning IMSA GT LM champions split their efforts across both the new GTD Pro Class and a full season entry in the World Endurance Championship.
For us with Corvette Racing, starting off our WC campaign here at Sebring, a track that we know is going to definitely help us. Lots of knowns with the car, with the racetrack, for some of the unknowns that come with racing in this series.
It gives us a great baseline to start. You know, if we can't be competitive with the car here at Sebring, in WEC trim, there's something going wrong there.
While Tandy and Milner were taking on the WEC 1,000 mile race, their teammates would be racing in the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, round 2 of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship.
For us on the IMSA side, it's going to be difficult. Obviously, having less resources during the weekend, it was always nice to have 2 cars to kind of start the weekend on different setup options. Now we've got 1 car, we've got half the data kind of coming in, but I think we're still very well prepared, but I think it's going to be a much different feel on the weekends.
You are kind of always in contention, so you just need to make sure that you're still there in the last couple of hours, which in Sebring, I mean, last year we kind of got punched out of the lead, so we just need to make sure that we're there, and then anything can happen.
It's good to have 1 Corvette in each series because we might come out with a victory in each, so that's a cool thing. For us, it's only another time at Sebring. We did this many times, and let's see how the wet guys do it.
Racing a day earlier, the 64 crew were taking on a pair of Porsches and a pair of Ferraris. Having qualified third, they set off on an 8-hour, 1,000-mile charge around the famous Sebring circuit. At the head of the GT Pro field, Tandy and Milner put on a thrilling battle with the number 92 Porsche.
It's a lot of work out there for sure. The Porsche guys are super quick, so working hard to try to keep up with them, but we'll see. I wouldn't say so far so good, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
With Corvette working hard to catch their rivals, the threat of an electrical storm brought the red flag out with an hour to go. Frustratingly, the race couldn't be restarted.
So there's lightning in the area, there's 30 minutes of the race to go, and they've called it, but we finished up, first race, WEC, and we're second, got a podium, so pleased, really pleased.
Obviously, now here, as you can see, it's really coming down now. So, as Nick said, awesome to be P2. Great start to the year for us.
The runner-up spot, an impressive showing for the WEC new boys, and it put the pressure on their IMSA teammates to go one better in the 12-hour race.
We learned a lot from the WEC race yesterday, just execution, traffic management, things like that. So it needs to be a long, tough race, but I think we're going to be in a good spot come the end of it.
Any fears that they'd be off the pace as they had been at Daytona were allayed as Antonio Garcia produced a lightning-fast triple opening stint, overtaking 6 cars in the process. Perfect pit stops and more immaculate driving by Taylor and Katzberg saw Corvette lead 247 laps of the 323 completed. As so often, it was Garcia who was handed the car for the final hours as Taylor and Katzberg waited nervously.
Today's been pretty exciting. We're still in the lead, 1 hour left. But let's not get too excited. We were in the same position last year and we got smashed off in the end. So we have to keep focused and try and bring it home this time.
A year after being taken out in the dying minutes of the race, this time Garcia stayed 4 seconds clear of his closest challengers in the Lamborghini, and Corvette took their 12th class victory in the legendary 12-hour race.
We obviously had a very, very strong car during the day, but yeah, stressful. It's not easy when you are controlling the pace. I mean, the important thing is we are in victory lane, so I hope the wet guys get to victory lane too, and yeah, everybody's happy.
To end today's show, we hit the Nitro with Tony Stewart Racing. The NHRA Drag Racing Series arrived in Gainesville, Florida for the Gator Nationals, and with wife Leah Pruett driving the top fuel entry, Tony Stewart's TSR Nitro were the new team in town.
That's pretty exciting. It's things aren't boring at home by any means. In the last year, we've got married. We've added 2 NHRA teams with a top fuel team with Leah, and Matt Hagan's driving the funny car. So now in Brownsburg at our shop, not only do we have Donnie's sprint car team, but now we have 2 Nitro teams as well that are running in NHRA.
The lineup features a 9-time top fuel winner in Pruett and a 3-time funny car champion in Matt Hagan. And while it's TSR's debut season, these guys are no rookies.
It really starts with Dodge. That's how Matt Hagan and I have come together. We've been great teammates. He epitomizes that burly American muscle. I mean, just sticking those wins down everyone's throat. And I epitomize that American muscle, but just from a female, more challenger-like perspective. He's the charger, I'm the challenger.
Everybody's asked me, why do you leave Don Schumacher Racing? I've won 3 world titles there, runner-up several times, got more trophies than I can put on the wall. And it's about change. It's about bringing something new into the sport. Tony brings a lot of charisma, a lot of motivation, a lot of leadership into this team owner role. And that excited me.
Going 335 miles an hour in less than 3.7 seconds. All of that adrenaline, inertia, excitement, pressure, exhilaration is incredible. But doing it with a group of people that have the exact same mindset with the highest amount of horsepower and representing Dodge and Mobil, it's like those are the dreams that I had, and now I'm living that dream.
Disrupted by earlier weather delays, Pruett's top fuel dragster fell short in Saturday's qualifying. Hagan, meanwhile, powered through to Sunday's final with the quickest funny car run in 4 years.
Everything we do out here is about repetition and doing the same thing over and over again. And on Sunday, that changes so much. You know, you can do it all right and still get it wrong. You're at the mercy of the parts and the pieces sometimes, and stuff happens, things break, and you go home early. So it's a very, very humbling sport. There's no do-overs in drag racing. You get 4 chances to get it right, and you got to get them right all 4 times on Sunday.
With up to 6 head-to-head runs, winning through an entire weekend is tough. As team boss, Stewart's aim is to bring the winning mentality of his NASCAR and sprint car teams to the NHRA.
Where I learned that I knew I wanted to race with Tony was when we weren't doing well. His sink or swim mentality was always swim, and I'm like, that's the type of person that I want to race with. Doesn't matter what sport Tony Stewart's in, it's still the same, his desire to win, and he has infused it into us like nitromethane inside of our engine, and it's been pretty explosive.
I was able to bring my entire crew over here, crew chief, assistant crew chief included, and so it's kind of like a turnkey operation from what we had. We know we have proven people, proven parts, and everything that we need here to win a championship. So to be able to do that with Leah in the top fuel side of things would be great.
A 331 mph 3.9 second run in the final defeated Blake Alexander. It was Matt Hagan's 40th series win and gave Smoke his first taste of NHRA success.
It's an awesome feeling. I think what's cool is it's my first win as an owner in NHRA. It's Matt Hagan's first win at the Gator Nationals. So this is a marquee event on the schedule. So this is a pretty historic day for all of us.
Next time, we get the lowdown on a top fuel teardown and follow Porsche's pursuit of performance perfection. We'll see you then on Mobil 1 The Grid.